Hey guys, it's Aman
and Christina
from Our Rich Journey. Today, we are going to talk about how not to be the fool that loses your money in crypto, stocks, or by investing in real estate. And we're going to do this by talking about a very important concept when it comes to picking your investments. And it is called the greater fool's theory. If you have never heard of this concept, it is so important that you watch this entire video because so many of us want to be that investor that is able to get in on a hot investment from the beginning and ride that investment to riches.
So like Aman said, we are going to be talking about the greater fool's theory in this video. We are going to define it. We are going to lay it out for you and see if that's something that will work for your investment strategy. But before we get to that, if you are new to our channel is all about making, saving, and investing money on the road to financial independence. Aman and I pursued financial independence for 8 years. We reached our goal and we retired before the age of 40. So if you are interested in learning more ways about how to save, make, and invest money, make sure you subscribe to our channel and follow us on Instagram. So because this is about the greater fool's theory, let's first start off by defining what this theory is. So under this theory, an investor believes that they can make money from buying an asset that they know is overvalued, where the price drastically exceeds the intrinsic value of the investment. But the investor also believes that they can later sell that asset at a higher price. So the investor is considered a fool because they are willing to buy an overpriced asset, but only because they have the belief that there is an even greater fool that they can sell it to and make a profit.
So in other words, they invest in an asset not because they believe the price is worth it, but because they believe they can sell that asset to another investor at a higher price. But, and this is a big but, it only works as long as there are other greater fools to buy that asset. You see, at a certain point, when this concept is applied in real life, and the price of an asset is going up and up, and everyone knows that this asset has no intrinsic value, at a certain point, reality kicks in. And the crowd collectively comes to the realization that this asset is overvalued, which at that point, you start to see the asset fall. In some cases, you see the bubble pop. Now, if we look at some real life examples of how the greater fool's theory has played out in recent history, we can point to many different things. For example, the housing boom of the early 2000s. This is a prime example of how investors were investing in real estate that was clearly overvalued, but they were only investing in it because they knew someone else would pay a higher price for that. You see the same thing with these countless number of cryptocurrencies and NFTs that are hitting the market literally every single hour of the day. The more these come out, the more you have these investors that are following this same greater fool's theory.
So this greater fool's theory is so interesting to us because there are so many levels to it, depending on what stage you get in. Are you the original fool? Are there many more fools after you? Are you the last fool to hold this asset with no one left to buy it at the price that you bought it for? So if you are in this situation, you clearly do not want to be this last person holding the asset. You hope that there are more and more people that are going to be buying this asset as well.
Now, the way that we're talking about the greater fool's theory, it may sound like we're talking about it in a negative light. That is not the case right now. What we are doing is presenting to you this concept because it's a part of our financial literacy mission. It's to give you this information so that you can understand when you are encountering investments like this. Because it's not always a bad idea to invest like this. If you see an opportunity to make money by investing using the greater fool's theory, that is okay if that fits your particular strategy. So what we want to talk about now is if you are going to do something like this, which is very risky, if you are going to invest in an asset that is overvalued, but you believe that there are other fools out there that will pay more for this asset, there are some things that you should keep in mind if you choose to do this type of investment.
So the first thing that you need to keep in mind is that if you're applying this type of theory with your investment strategy, you have to understand that it's basically the closest thing you can do to gambling with your investment. You have to have this belief that collectively there is a group that is willing to continue to make these purchases or these investments in whatever asset that you invest in, and that they are willing to pay a higher price. You really don't know at what point that bubble is going to burst, so you're really gambling that it will continue to grow with enough momentum for you to get out before the bubble bursts.
The next thing to keep in mind is that the state of the economy plays a huge role when you invest like this. You see, when everything is going well, when the economy is blazing and money is abundant, it is very easy to invest like this and see your money grow. But as soon as the winds of the economy change, as soon as a recession kicks in, it is investments like this that have no intrinsic value, that are overpriced. These are the first investments to crash. And so if you are investing like this, if the economy should change negatively, this will be the first money you lose.
So the next thing to keep in mind is that many times these investments are based off of some popularity or fad or different type of craze at the time. So think of Peloton, the at-home fitness equipment company. Before COVID, it was selling for about $20 to $30 per share. But then COVID hit, many people had to work out at home, and so the popularity of this particular company boomed. Everyone thought that this is the next great investment. And so the share price of this company went up to almost $170 at its high. But then after everything started to settle down again, the price for that company dropped back down to $50.
So from $170 to $50, that is a huge drop. But it's just another example of how the greater fool's theory took over this particular stock. People buying it, knowing that that stock was not worth $171, but when reality kicked in, when the reality of that we will be able to go back to the gym one day kicked in, that stock went back down to the value that it should likely be at. The next thing to keep in mind when applying this theory is investing in assets that can saturate the market. And what I mean by this is take a look at investments like NFTs. At this point, NFTs are new, they are very popular, and many people are making investments in them with the strategy of reselling those NFTs at a higher price. If this doesn't sound like greater fool's theory, I don't know what is. But if you look at NFTs, anyone can make an NFT. And at a certain point, will there be too many NFTs on the market to be able to delineate which one is more valuable than the next? This is a question that is yet to be seen. But this may be another example of how greater fool's theory is playing out in real life once again. The next thing to keep in mind is media coverage, because media coverage plays a very important role in getting more people to invest in a particular asset, even if that asset has no value at all. And so if you are applying this theory and the media happens to be covering the asset that you are investing in, it will definitely dictate the returns you have with that asset. The last thing to keep in mind, and this particular factor is influencing more investors than we've ever seen before. It is social media. And social media is a different type of media altogether, and so we wanted to break it out. Because with social media, you may be following an influencer that is talking about a particular investment, and you are investing in that asset because of that influencer's suggestion to do so. Or maybe they're saying they're doing it themselves and you should also. And you are doing this without doing your own due diligence. Greater fool's theory is the epitome of the social media influencer suggesting you make an investment, because that social media influencer is in fact getting other fools to invest in that asset. And maybe some of those other people aren't doing their due diligence to identify the real value of that asset. So this is something that you must seriously take into consideration if you are going to try to take on this strategy. Now, Christina and I, we wanted to talk about the greater fool's theory because we think many people are using this strategy whether they know it or not. In one way or another, people are making investments in assets that may be overvalued, don't have an intrinsic value, and they are investing in them because they believe they can sell it to someone else. Whether it's a stock, a real estate, cryptocurrency, NFTs, or maybe it's a piece of art. Whatever the case is, people are deciding to buy these investments with the intent of selling them to someone else who is willing to pay a higher price. And so we want you guys to keep this in mind when you're devising your own strategy. Are you buying assets based off of the greater fool's theory? Hopefully you can answer that question. And so if you've liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and join the journey.